So today is the 10th of Tevet, referred to by the prophets as Son Proasir. It's in the 10th month of the year. And it's really the first of the 4 months chronologically, because it commemorates the beginning of the siege of Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, when Nebuchadnezzar besieged for over 2 years until he was able to destroy Yerushalayim and the temple. And years earlier, the king of Assyria, Tevet, had besieged Jerusalem with a huge army of 180,000 armed Syrians. And in one night they was all struck down by a plague, all destroyed, which is attributed by the prophets to the saintliness of King Chizkiah in his time. Tevet was able to destroy entirely most of the land of Israel, occupied at the time by the 10 tribes, and he banished them to different places all over his empire, scattering them. That was his policy, to confuse national groups. They shouldn't go and rebel against him. If we scattered them all over his huge empire. And he was struck down in such a manner because of the movement of Teshuvah, which is initiated by Chizkiah. So when Nebuchadnezzar, Babylonians, took over from the Assyrians, and he had a huge empire, but he was afraid that something similar might happen to him. And he knew that if the people of Israel are going to be true to their God, then he might suffer the same defeat as was suffered by his predecessor, Tevet, king of Assyria. But as Yirmiyahu said, when the people didn't bother much about the siege, for the walls of Jerusalem very strong, there are plenty of supplies, and they thought as long as we've got the temple and it's going day by day with the divine service, so we're secure, because our God will protect us. Even though at the same time the people are desecrating the teachings of God. And especially he describes the enormous desecration of the Shabbos that took place in Yerushalayim. And he said, if you go on this way, Jerusalem will become destroyed. So what happened? The siege started. After 2.5 years, it was destroyed completely, and burnt up the Beit HaMikdash, and banished the Jews to Babylon, took to prison. Now, we know that of the 4 fasts, which is the one that is most important. The four fasts instituted by the prophets.
This one?
The 10th of Tevet,
Yom Kippur.
the Yom Kippur, or let's speak with Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a fast which is commanded by God Himself. And
Which is
this fast, the fast of Yom Kippur, is mentioned in the Chumash and says Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh 3 times, on the essence of this day. If you go through the whole of the Bible, the Tanakh, the Be'etzem, which means the strength, the force, or the essence of this day, is always mentioned when something new begins. Either new good or new bad. It's mentioned by the deluge, for example, on which day it began. It's mentioned in Yom Kippur. And the strength of Yom Kippur is that it became a day of atonement, but only if you fasted on that day. You have to fast on that day. And therefore, even if that day falls on Shabbos, we fast. Although Shabbos should be a day of rejoicement, some say Mikra Kodesh, which said by Shabbos, means you've got to declare the holiness of Shabbat over food and drink. But when it's Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat. Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh, you have to fast, even though it's Shabbos. With regard to the other fast days, which were not given by God direct, they were instituted by the sages, all to do with the calamities of Jerusalem, the Beit HaMikdash. And there's a view already brought by the Gaonim, very early authorities, and developed by Avud Raham, one of the early important Rishonim, that the same law of the principle to fast, even if it falls on Shabbos, applies to Asor of Tevet, the 10th of Tevet. It does not apply to Tisha B'Av. If Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, what happens? And if you know, it's postponed for the Sunday. That's Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av is one of the 4 fasts, the only one where you have to fast both from the night as well as the day. Asara B'Teves, from 2 points of view, seems to be the weakest of the 4 fasts. Why? But what happened on that day? Not a real calamity. It was just the beginning of the siege, when in fact the inhabitants of Yerushalayim were not so alarmed, because they had the temple. They thought the temple was going to protect us, but it didn't. Because it didn't keep the laws of the Torah. But still, it wasn't as terrible as the actual burning up of the first and the second temple on Tisha B'Av. And nevertheless, there's a tradition that on Asara B'Teves, in the time when that Kiddush al Pi Re'iyah, that means it wasn't a fixed calendar, but it turned out according to when the witnesses first saw the new moon, it could happen that it would turn out the 10th of Teves would fall on Shabbos. They had to fast on Shabbos. And this is, what's the source for it? And the source for it is as follows. The siege itself is described in the Book of Kings and the Book of Chronicles. But there's another place where the siege of Nebuchadnezzar is mentioned. Yechezkel was a prophet who lived in Babylon, in the area of Babylon. He didn't live in Eretz Yisrael. And there came to him a prophecy, as you'll see in the 24th chapter of Yechezkel. It says that in the 9th year of Nebuchadnezzar, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, the word of Hashem came to me saying, Son of man, write this name of the day, Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh, on this same day. The king of Babel has started the siege of Jerusalem on this very day. And you have to utter a parable to the rebellious house and say to them, to the people of Israel who are rebellious, Thus says Hashem, set on the pot, set it on, and pour water into it. Gather the pieces of meat into it, every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder, fill it with choice bones. Take the choice of the flock, and also pile the bones under it, make it boil well, and let the bones of it be cooked in it. Therefore, thus says Hashem, woe to the bloody city, to the pot in which there is filth, for its filth is not gone out of it. Bring it out piece by piece. No lot has fallen upon it, for its blood is in the midst of it. She set it upon the bare rock. She poured it not upon the ground to cover it with dust, that it might cause fury to come, that vengeance might be taken. For I have set her blood upon the bare rock, that it should not be covered. Therefore, thus says Hashem, woe to the bloody city. I too will make the pile great, heap on wood, kindle the fire, boil away the meat, and mix the spices. Then let the bones be reduced to ashes. Then set it empty upon its glowing embers, that the brass of it may be heated and may burn. The impurity of it what may be molten in it, the filth of it may be consumed. Futile is the toil, for a great filth went not out of her. Her filth is noisome, because of your lewd uncleanliness, that I purged you, and you weren't purged. You shall not be purged from your filthiness any more, till I have relieved my fury upon you. I, Hashem, have spoken of it. It shall come to pass, and I will do it. I will not go back, neither will I spare, neither will I repent. According to your ways, according to your doings, they will judge you, says Hashem. So, this was the word of God saying that, Son of man, I'm about to take away from you the light of your eyes, the stroke. You will not mourn nor weep, nor will your tears run down. Sign silence. Make no mourning for the dead. Bind on the turban and put on your shoes upon your feet. So I spoke to the people in the morning. So, this is all a description of the terrible destruction of the people of Israel, what's left of them. 10 tribes disappeared already. And now, he said, on that same day, when he started the siege, and he knew by prophecy, he was told, although he was far away, he had to write down this Etzem Hayom Hazeh. And they say because of this is the comparison, where else do we find Etzem Hayom Hazeh together with a fast initiated after the sin of the golden calf to atone for it? Yom Kippur. And that was introduced by God Himself. So therefore the prophets were given Ruach HaKodesh to mark this day. And if one looks in the words of all the prophets concerning the fast, we see a difference between the three fasts. That means Tom Gedalia and Shavuos B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. They're referred to by the prophets as the fast of the month, of the fourth month, the fifth month, the seventh month. These are the other three: Shavuot B'Tammuz, Tisha B'Av, and Tzom Gedalia. But when it comes to the 10th month, there it's specified as being on the 10th. It doesn't just say the fast of the month, but the 10th of the month. So we see there's a parallel between the 10 and the 10, and between the biblical fast and the rabbinical fast. And that's, in practice, what does it mean? That if it turns out that with any of the other fasts, it turns out on a Shabbos, you can postpone it. Doesn't matter. The main thing is it should be fast of the month. But Asara B'Tevet cannot be postponed. Just like Yom Kippur can't be postponed. If Yom Kippur, it falls out on the Shabbos, you keep Yom Kippur fasting, and you don't postpone to the Sunday, but you do it with Tisha B'Av, but not with Asara B'Tevet. And that's why when they made the fixed calendar, they made sure it should never fall on Shabbos. But if it fall on Shabbos, then you wouldn't be able to postpone it. And that's really what caused a bit of a dilemma for prophets in such a situation. At that time, there's no longer any changing calendar. In fact, it was fixed till the Mashiach will come. Excuse me, I think it's question is so the commentators say, especially the Chasam Sofer, he develops this. Why is it? He says, because in life we say everything depends on the beginning, the start. Because all the suffering that came afterwards, the second Beit HaMikdash was not on the level of the first Beit HaMikdash. And therefore, if the source of the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash was not really Nebuchadnezzar himself alone, he was just a tool in the hands of Hashem. It was because the people, they regarded the Beit HaMikdash as giving them the ability to sin. All the time they bring offerings and get forgiveness. There's a limit to it. Hashem even gave them time during that siege to do teshuvah, and they didn't listen, as Yirmiyahu says frequently. So all the suffering came. So this is a very important lesson for all of us. In other words, we have to, all of us, we have to make sure we shouldn't allow the power of the Yetzer Hara to break through the wall. Atu siyog la Torah. Even the atu. Atem tishmu et mishmarti. Tasu mishmeret le mishmarti. Even in the Torah, there are many prohibitions that really that the major mitzvot and keep Am Yisrael away from their major sins. And that's why there were certain matters introduced by Hashem already to stop us against the power of evil and not let it get hold of us. Once it starts, it can bring you to the depths. You've got to, just like if there's a leak starting, at the time of a storm, if you stop that leak, okay. If you don't stop it, it can destroy the whole house. Same as in a shipwreck. If you allow a little bit of a hole, a certain place, starts as a small stream, if you don't correct it immediately, then the waters of the ocean will cause the whole ship to wreck, and they endanger all the passengers. That's life, and therefore we've got to stop at the beginning. The truth of the rottenness existed before with the northern tribes. Hashem hoped, okay, I will leave the Beit HaMikdash and live with loyal to the teaching of the Beit HaMikdash. There's chance for atonement. But if they're going to say, like they said to Yirmiyahu when he said, if you don't change, you're going to be destroyed completely, the Beit HaMikdash will be burnt up. So they said, no, that other prophets, false prophets, have said, no, what did they do with Yirmiyahu? They threw him in a pit. They wanted to silence him. So, what will say? I've even sent a prophet to warn you. You take no notice. And therefore he composed the Lamentations, the Kinnot, and we do. That was the beginning of the slippery slope which led Am Yisrael to be decimated, banished. Went from one Galut to the next Galut. Even when the second Beit HaMikdash was built, it was only a partial solution. For the vast majority of Jews did not even come to live in Eretz Israel when there was a Beit HaMikdash. So therefore Beit HaMikdash became weak, no longer the power of the outlying communities of the tribes of Yehuda. Not alone, the other lost tribes we lost. So what's going to happen to Am Yisrael? And this can go on and on and on. And one of the main aspects connected with this Shabbos is Chilul Shabbos. Here now today, we're here in Israel, in Tel Aviv, they're starting even to have a new municipal law that they're going to allow more Chilul Shabbos. Chilul Shabbos is growing also in Yerushalayim. And we're not doing enough. We might say, well, we keep Shabbos, okay, but how much are we doing to bring others to observe the Shabbos? We're not doing enough. We've got to go out to those. Today the Chilul Shabbos is mainly based on ignorance. No one has taught them the significance of Shabbos. And that brings a lot of problems. But that's why the law of Shabbos is a significant one. Etzem Hayom Hazeh. I mean, I'll tell you, I have to connect with this a certain episode, and this is a reflection of what goes on all over the world, also here in Israel, in those areas where Shabbos is not known so well. Many of the shuls, even the frum shuls, all over the world, they have an extra hall they have to rent. Some have got extra annex, which they don't use for tefillah. When it comes to the 3 days, for Shon and Yom Kippur, a lot of people want to come. Oh Hashem, very good. So in my shul, which I had also in Chutz La'aretz, so when Yom Kippur fell on Shabbos, so I gave a drosha, because the shul was packed. It was also an overflow service. The regular Shabbos had 200 people. The good days, sometimes even less. And when it came to Yom Noroim, especially Yom Kippur, he had Where it was packed, even the standing room. More than 1,000, many others. So it came to Yom Kippur from Nidre. So I congratulated everyone in a way. Shechionu was also Shechionu. It's very good to see so many people coming to shul. I haven't seen all the year. Maybe that's why it says Shechionu. Very nice. I said, now, then when it came, I spoke about it, I think I spoke about it in the daytime also. I was called Nidre, there were a lot, but the main Rosh I gave in the daytime. And I said, how great are you? You, residents of Manchester, you all come to shul. You're not involved with business. You're not going to football matches. You're not going to the markets. You're not going shopping. You come to pray to Hashem, to praise Hashem, and ask Him forgiveness for all sins. How great you all are! On this most holy day of the year, there's no day like this holy day, most holy, the Shabbos. And then it was silence. Shabbos. The Shabbos is it. Then I proved to them that Shabbos is more holy than Yom Kippur. Because on Yom Kippur, first of all, there's no death punishment. It's karet. The soul is cut off. But no, there's no punishment through a bedroom or death punishment. So it's not a severe Shabbos, it's not important, not the holiest Shabbos. So so then I suggested them, I'm looking forward to welcome you next Shabbos. We've done this Shabbos, come next Shabbos. Anyway, some people did. I said, come next Shabbos. Okay, it would be very nice to see you Friday night. Maybe you can manage till this time of the year, no business yet. Businesses are closed already. Come Friday night and come for Suda Shlishas. The truth is, few people came. And I was able to then work on them. This should change. This should gradually become Shomrei Shabbos. But this is the situation. We've got to do much more. I don't think it's the fault Chilul Shabbos, not the fault of the Mechalei Shabbos. It's the fault of the Shomrei Shabbos not doing enough to be Mekara the Mechalei Shabbos. But I found instances amazing. Once had to go a long distance on a Shabbos. So a car stops, and a person sees me walking. So therefore he said, can I give you a lift? I'll take you a ride wherever you need to go to. I said, it's very nice of you, but today is Shabbos. He was a Jew. Today is Shabbos. So I was talking about Shabbos. And then he didn't know about it. But he just said, okay, he's due to get married. So asked me a lot of questions. I said, I was staying in a certain hotel. I said, come and see me at night. And from that conversation at night time, I had a talk with him, he decided he's going to become a Shomrei Shabbos. We've got to work more in that direction. That's one of the important lessons to learn from this din of Asura B'Teves. But, the Asura B'Teves, a more important matter. It's for good reasons that this, which is the major fast from certain angles, talking about Syria, the idea of 10, it's got certain parallels to Yom Kippur, it can bring atonement. It's Etzem HaYom Hazeh, there's a certain power in the day, which is not applied to Tisha B'Av or any other day, it applies to Yom Kippur. Etzem HaYom Hazeh is used once, also in connection with the Exodus from Egypt, which is on Pesach. It's used once with regard to Shavuot, which is the giving of the Torah. It's used 3 times on Yom Kippur, and it's emphasized to Yechezkel, Etzem HaYom Hazeh. So therefore, since it has a certain power, we know that the hatred of the nations, which goes back to Yaakov and Esau, is such an irrational hatred, and it keeps on attacking the people of Israel. I'm going to ask, what's behind it? It's very difficult to understand. It's irrational. They hate. So I'll tell you this from some Menachem Zemba, the Rav of Warsaw. He was also trying to lead also even the time of the Battle of Warsaw. He was all involved. And he says that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who's known for that Tana, Darshin and Talmud, he always gives reasons. Even when he's very much, Shimon ben Yochai is the Tana who goes after reasons and even thought. Therefore he said, Rabbi Shimon says that Dov Hashem is Chaben, if you don't have intention to do the Malacha, it's not called the Malacha for Shabbos. I'll just go after the intention. So he says, what's the intention of the mitzvahs? He also even uses the meanings of the mitzvahs to make halachic distinctions. But when it comes to Yaakov and Esau, it's a halacha that Esau hates Yaakov. What's the halacha? It's mentioned in the blessing. And that Esau was given this irrational hatred in order to bring Am Yisrael to Teshuvah. Hakol kol Yaakov, if we really don't go away from Hashem, and we're always learning the Torah and praying to Hashem, then the power of Esau is weakened, and ultimately he'll give in. But what happens if we ignore it? We don't do what we're supposed to do, and Hashem has given us potential to do. For example, if we have hatred without cause, without real reasons, one against the other, so Esau also intensifies his hatred of the people of Israel without cause. He'll hate us because we're communists, he'll hate us because we're capitalists. He'll hate us because of the fact we're rich, or he'll hate us because we're poor. He keeps on hating us for different reasons. It's not logical, it's irrational. And everyone thought after the Holocaust, surely they've all learned their lesson. So we're surprised that France and Germany, who suffered so much also from the Holocaust, certainly France, and in Germany, so many citizens, they're not going to stop it. But what do we see? Neo-Nazism is part and parcel and becomes joined together with the anti-Israelism, and anti-Semitism. And it's rearing its ugly head in so many different ways. So because we're not doing enough. That's the halacha. So anyway, this day has become also the day for working against the attempt. There was never a Holocaust. How do they hate us? How do they express their hatred? They say it never existed. Like if something is very terrible, then sometimes it goes away from a person's mind. It's true that the only way survivors of the Holocaust could cope with it was they're made out in their conscious life as though it never happened. Because the moment they would think about it, it would drive them crazy. To have to even recall what happened, and the terrible suffering comes back in their minds. So therefore, the attempt is made to submerge it. So we have to do the opposite. We do the opposite. How do we do it? How do we do it? That there's so many whose relatives died, was murdered in the Holocaust, and they don't know on which date they died. So when should they make the Yotzah? So Asara B'Tevet is also called the day of the Kaddish, Kaddish HaKlali, for all those who disappeared in the Holocaust, the terrible, the gas, other ways, and nobody really knows when it happened. And people who lost their relatives in that manner, so this has made the national Kaddish. Now the Kaddish does not mention death. It does not mention mourning. What does it mention? Sanctifying the name of Hashem. And what lies behind this? The purpose of the people of Israel is to sanctify the name of Hashem in the world. That's why we're special people. Mamlechet Kohanim, Goy Kadosh, to declare the Kedusha of Hashem. The Beit HaMikdash is there to declare the Kedusha of Hashem. And the people of Israel are there for that purpose. And therefore, if there are people who unfortunately have died and were not able to fulfill that mission, then those that survive, we've got to replace them. And therefore the essence of Kaddish, and Kaddish has become acceptable by, I would say, by the vast majority of the people of Israel, as the right expression for a mourner. Even though people don't even understand what the words mean, and they hardly know any Hebrew, but they try to say it, sometimes together with others, and it does contain this concept of establishing holiness in this world which seems to be so unholy. There's perhaps been no time in the history of mankind when it's been as important as it is today to establish a universal Kaddish. The Kaddish, like universal Kiddush Hashem. As it says in the prophet, the words of the Kaddish come from Prophet Yechezkel, who said ultimately the name Hashem will become sanctified. It will become sanctified by the way in which He will create an enormous change for the human race. You'll see that those who are committed to evil and don't want to change, they're going to disappear. But from all the nations there will remain those who will build up a new world, a world where Ki Hashem Mamlucho Moshel Bagoyim. Bayom Ahu, we say, on that day Hashem will become one and be recognized by everybody. And Yom Rashi's interpretation is based on many Pesukim and many Midrashim. Shema Yisrael, you Israel are a separate nation. And you are there to declare that God is the ruler. So Hashem Elokeinu. Meanwhile, Hashem is our God. And we who say the Shema, we say, we are ready to serve you. We'll follow you through thick and thin. But we hope Hashem Echad, the time will come when Hashem will be the only God who will be worshipped and followed by all mankind. We hope through our example, the whole of mankind will change. So let us therefore, each one of us, make a Kiddush Hashem. Because the Kiddush Hashem is so important. So I'll tell you, for example, I was so impressed, very close to the Gadol Hador of the previous generation of Rabbi Elyashiv. And Rabbi Elyashiv, in many of his, even halachic discussions, he always used to say the most important aspect is this option creating a Kiddush Hashem? We've got to make Kiddush Hashem, we've got to sanctify the name of Hashem from Jews and Gentiles. That's why he's even ready to meet. There are often people brought to him, ambassadors, non-Jewish ones, and he felt he didn't want to refuse, because he was although he didn't like any interruption in his learning and teaching, but he was always ready to do anything which would create a Kiddush Hashem. And we all have to do that as well. Try and sanctify the name of Hashem. And that's the purpose of this Etzem Hayom Hazeh, the strength of this day, as some of the strength of Yom Kippur. And let's hope it will be a kapara for Am Yisrael and bring about the complete redemption in our time.
Right.